Trump is back in office with the help of the oligarchy. You're all, if you watched the inauguration, you probably saw some images like this, where the front row to the inauguration was this row of billionaires. So Elon, Sundar, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. Then behind them, you can kind of see Marco Rubio here in the back. But they were all seated in front of the cabinet. And they each, I think, I know Elon donated 200 or something, $250 million, something like that. But they all donated to the inauguration and have been going to Mar-a-Lago, trying to meet with Trump. And there are a couple things that stood out from the inauguration where, because the inauguration was indoors, the space was so much tighter. And so you see all these people cramped together in this very intimate setting where across the hall from them, or across the aisle from them, there were all the former presidents, Miriam Adelson, another big billionaire donor to Trump. And they all had this front row seat, and the optics of it, I think, pretty clearly show who was going to be the real cabinet, or who's going to be actually advising Trump, and whose opinions might hold more sway than his own cabinet members. And that's not to say that his own cabinet members is also full of billionaires. So it's basically the price of admission. You donate $1 million or more, you get to sit directly behind the president as he's sworn in, the president of the United States. So there's been a lot of talk about just how this looks, and the other part of moving the inauguration indoors. So they announced on Saturday, I think, that they were going to move the inauguration indoors because it's been so cold. And there are a lot of people who traveled to D.C. to go see the inauguration, Trump supporters, and their tickets were invalidated. They weren't going to see any. They weren't going to see any of it. And what the message that it sends to not only his supporters but just to the rest of us watching is that maybe those people don't matter so much now that they've already voted for him. That's the way politics goes. But the side by side of having these people not be part of the inauguration and then having the oligarchs have a front row seat sends, I think, a clear signal of just how involved tech is going to be with this administration. So you didn't see this in the first administration. A lot of these guys stayed away. But this time around, there is an emphasis on AI, space travel, regulation. There's a lot, I think from the Mark Zuckerberg side of things, there's obviously AI, but getting the government to stop regulating them and using this political speech rhetoric about censorship as a way to say, well, the last administration forced us to censor things, and this administration cares about free speech. So we're gonna break from our existing way of doing business to amplify more conservative voices, and basically not censor anything. So there was an interesting, Mark Zuckerberg talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast, just about how the Biden administration was requiring them to censor things and how they tried to push back based off of, COVID and disinformation, vaccines. But the oligarchy narrative there's it might feel we might come to look back on this moment and think, wow, when a lot of automation took a lot of people's jobs, who were the people that were standing next to the president who tried to advise or usher this new age in? It definitely has this kind of Gilded Age feeling where the richest people on the planet are all just front row with the president, and there's really no sense of independence. And that's always been Trump's thing, right? That he's a businessman, he knows how to strike deals, he's going to run the government like a CEO. But I don't it's hard for me to square the stuff that he says in his speech where he's saying we're taking our country back from the elites. The elites are seething because we are coming in and fighting for the average person, or restoring America back to its former glory. It's hard to square that when you literally have almost $1 trillion. I think it's almost like $900 billion of wealth sitting right behind you. And it's worth noting that Democrats raise a lot of money from billionaires too. You can't excuse because they're more in the shadows. So you shouldn't excuse that they're hypocritical. The people who say that, like this week, let me see if I can find it, the Democratic chair. The Democratic chair there said something about good billionaires versus bad billionaires. And it's pretty funny that there's this no sense of irony that you're saying, no, we're let's see, the good billionaires.
I have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
They're taking your money.
I mean, this feels like a joke. Let me just play it one more time to get the full thing.
There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
They're taking.
Jesus Christ, the good billionaires and the bad billionaires. Maybe this is just bad all around. Maybe it's bad to be relying on billionaires' money to run campaigns. And okay, here we go. There's a visual. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So here we've got the CEO of TikTok sitting next to Tulsi Gabbard, the future nominee for the director of intelligence. Great. Maybe he can advise her on all the information that they're collecting. And then we've got Scott Bassett. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's a hedge fund guy. Kelly Loeffler, she's a billionaire. RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth, Doug Burgum, he's a billionaire. And then Tim Cook, Sergey Brin, Eli, Sundar, Bezos. No Satya from Microsoft. That's interesting. Then here's Vivek and Kristi Noem. But it's basically a who's who, I think Miriam Adelson is over here behind George W. Bush. But this is a graphic. Oh, this is from Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut. But Matt Stoller generally has some pretty good takes about stuff like this. He's an anti-monopolist, policy analyst, and he covers this stuff pretty closely. But I heard an insane stat. Since Trump won elected, Elon Musk's wealth has increased by 100 million every hour. And I think you got to call it what it is, right? This is just a massive cash grab to try to get these guys' companies and their interests just front row seat with the administration. And regardless of what your politics are, I think if this were Obama or Biden with these same people, the other side would be losing its mind about how the billionaires own them and they're bought and paid for. But somehow this is somehow more accepted because it's Trump, and then there's this myth that he doesn't need them or that they're bending the knee to him. That's something that Steve Bannon said. He said that they were coming to surrender. But I don't. Yeah, here we go.
Has your opinion changed at all about Elon Musk regarding the H-1B visas or running
Absolutely no. He collapsed already. He said the next day, oh, they need reform. The H-1B visas, look, there is no legal immigration in the United States. It is all illegal as it's currently, because all the system's been gamed. We need a full moratorium, 100% on all immigration for 6 months. And in 6 months, we have to go through all these visa programs, and we have to make sure that American citizens come first. We cannot bring indentured servants from South Asia. It's not fair to them. We're out of the indentured service business in the 19th century. I think we fought a civil war about this. I think we came to the conclusion after that war, you can't have slaves and you can't have indentured service. That service is a servitude. You can't. That's not what it's about.
Serfs.
Right? Russian serfs. You can't have that. And that's what the techno-feudalists, look, Silicon Valley's an apartheid state. We have to face that. There was fine while they were all progressive Democrats. But now that they see they have to surrender to MAGA, and they're open to MAGA, to work with MAGA, and to take off all the ridiculous censorship, all of a sudden they're the worst person in the world to Maddow and to Biden and to those guys. The only reason is we defeated them. And in their surrender, the next thing that has to happen, we have to break the apartheid state in Silicon Valley. It's not acceptable that blacks and Hispanics and other Americans that are qualified don't have jobs there. They have not shown me not one of the millions of H-1B visa holders here. They have not, and we've asked them, show us one that has a skill set, an education for that billet better than an American. They can't. It's all about hiring people at 1/3 to 50% cheaper that are compliant. Those poor guys come over here, they have to be compliant because they're looking for a green card and chain migration. It's indentured servitude. It's unacceptable, and that's just one. All of the visa programs are corrupt. They're all weighted. The angle of attack is against American citizens. America first, but American citizens first. Everything we have to look at is the prism of American citizens.
Okay, so a lot packed in there. First, to start just with this fake narrative that they've come to surrender to MAGA. I think it's a story that these people tell themselves so that they can excuse what Trump says he stands for. Notice that they never blame Trump directly or really hold him accountable for anything. It's always somebody else who is misleading, or they're here to surrender. I think what's interesting about what he's saying is that he's talking about race in a way. We're now with Trump revoking things like DEI, and he just signed an executive order revoking Lyndon B. Johnson's affirmative action executive order for the federal government, that this guy's openly talking about race in Silicon Valley, and he's calling it an apartheid state. So he does have, I think, some interesting takes on just what's wrong with Silicon Valley and just, these techno-feudalists. But I think it's because they're not, he knows that they're a threat to his power. They're a threat to undermine Trump if they feel like it. They've got more money in the world, all the money in the world to do whatever they want, and Trump is their vehicle for achieving their means. When this guy's, saying that they're surrendering him, I think it's laughable. Right? It's laughable to think that Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos is surrendering to MAGA. They don't care about these people. They wouldn't be caught dead with Trump supporters. I think they're on their own team. They're on the team oligarchy. They're not, there are no such thing as good billionaires or bad billionaires. They're just people who are looking out for their self-interest, and they see this as a means to an end. As a business owner, these people are coming in and saying, well, this administration is going to be they're going to be the best for my business, so I need to play nice. One last thing I think is interesting is that this is the 12-month trend on oligarchy in the U.S. So it peaked on January 16th and it's been slowly coming down, but definitely been a spike in interest. We'll see what happens. I'll catch you next time.